a people pleaser is selfish. 5 reasons to prioritize your own well-being. People pleaser is often seen as a positive trait, one that is encouraged and rewarded in society. After all, pleasing others can lead to positive feedback, accolades, and a sense of belonging. However, being a people pleaser can also be a selfish act that can harm both the pleaser and those around them. In this article, we will explore 5 reasons why being a people pleaser is ultimately a selfish act. 1. It prioritizes the needs of others over your own. At its core, being a people pleaser means putting the needs and desires of others before your own. While this may seem like a selfless act, it can actually be quite selfish. By always prioritizing the needs of others, you may be neglecting your own needs and desires. This can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and even burnout. In the long run, constantly ignoring your own needs can lead to physical and emotional exhaustion, leaving you unable to give to anyone, including yourself. 2. It can be manipulative. Being a people pleaser can also be a manipulative act. By always seeking the approval and validation of others, you may be intentionally or unintentionally manipulating their perception of you. This can be harmful not only to yourself but to others as well. By constantly trying to please others, you may be setting unrealistic expectations that are impossible to meet. This can lead to disappointment and frustration on both sides, ultimately damaging the relationship. 3. It can lead to resentment and anger. When you constantly put the needs of others before your own, it's easy to become resentful and angry. Over time, the feelings of neglect and frustration can build up, leading to explosive outbursts or a complete breakdown. This can be harmful not only to yourself but to others around you. By constantly trying to please others, you may be setting yourself up for failure and disappointment, ultimately leading to feelings of anger and resentment. 4. It can hinder personal growth. Being a people pleaser can also hinder personal growth. By always trying to please others, you may be limiting yourself from pursuing your own interests and goals. This can be especially harmful in the long run, as it can prevent you from achieving your full potential. By constantly seeking the approval and validation of others, you may be missing out on opportunities for personal growth and development. 5. It can be self-centered. Finally, being a people pleaser can be self-centered. While it may seem like a selfless act on the surface, it's important to recognize that the underlying motivation is often rooted in a desire for personal validation and approval. By constantly seeking the approval and validation of others, you may be putting your own needs and desires above those of others. This can be harmful not only to yourself but to those around you as well. In conclusion, being a people pleaser may seem like a positive trait, but it can actually be quite selfish. By always prioritizing the needs of others over your own, you may be neglecting your own needs and desires, leading to resentment and anger. It can also be manipulative, hindering personal growth, and ultimately self-centered. If you find yourself constantly trying to please others, it's important to take a step back and evaluate your motivations. Only by recognizing the harmful effects of being a people pleaser can you begin to break free from this cycle and prioritize your own well-being. Here are some strategies that can help you break free from the cycle of people pleasing and start prioritizing your own well-being. 1. Practice self-care. Self-care is the act of taking care of your own physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It involves doing things that make you feel good, such as exercising, eating healthy, meditating, or spending time with loved ones. By prioritizing your own self-care, you can start to recognize the value of taking care of yourself and begin to prioritize your own needs and desires. 2. Set boundaries. Setting boundaries is crucial to breaking free from the cycle of people-pleasing. It involves being clear about what you are and are not willing to do, and communicating those boundaries to others. This can be difficult, but it's important to remember that setting boundaries is not selfish, it's an act of self-care. By setting boundaries, you can protect your own well-being and begin to prioritize your own needs and desires. 3. Practice saying no. Saying no can be difficult, especially if you're used to saying yes to everything. However, saying no is an important part of breaking free from the cycle of people-pleasing. It involves recognizing that your time and energy are valuable, and that you have the right to say no to things that don't align with your values or priorities. 4. Surround yourself with supportive people. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is crucial to breaking free from the cycle of people-pleasing. It involves seeking out people who value and respect you for who you are, rather than for what you can do for them. By surrounding yourself with supportive people, you can begin to recognize the value of prioritizing your own needs and desires. 5. Practice self-reflection. Self-reflection is the act of examining your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. It involves asking yourself questions such as, why do I feel the need to please others, or what am I afraid of if I say no? By practicing self-reflection, you can begin to recognize the underlying motivations behind your people-pleasing behavior and start to make changes that align with your own values and priorities. In conclusion, being a people-pleaser can be a selfish act that ultimately harms both the pleaser and those around them. By recognizing the harmful effects of people-pleasing and practicing strategies such as self-care, setting boundaries, saying no, surrounding yourself with supportive people, and practicing self-reflection, you can break free from the cycle of people-pleasing and start prioritizing your own well-being. Remember, prioritizing your own needs and desires is not selfish. It's an act of self-care that can ultimately benefit both you and those around you. By taking care of yourself first, you can show up as a better version of yourself and make a positive impact in the world. It's important to note that breaking free from the cycle of people-pleasing is not easy, and it may take time and effort. It involves unlearning old patterns of behavior and developing new ones. But the rewards of breaking free from people-pleasing can be significant: increased self-esteem, improved relationships, and a greater sense of personal fulfillment and happiness. If you're struggling with people-pleasing, remember that you're not alone. It's a common behavior that many people struggle with. But by taking steps to break free from people-pleasing and prioritize your own well-being, you can create a life that's more aligned with your own values and priorities. In conclusion, being a people-pleaser can be a self-centered act that ultimately harms both the pleaser and those around them. By prioritizing one's own needs and desires, they can show up as a better version of themselves and make a positive impact in the world. It's important to practice self-care, set boundaries, say no, surround oneself with supportive people, and practice self-reflection to break free from the cycle of people-pleasing. Remember, prioritizing oneself is not selfish. It's an act of self-care that can lead to a more fulfilling life.